Welcome to the Theory of DFS podcast. I'm Jordan Cooper, the co-author of the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass you could pick up at theoryofdfs.com. Join me, as always, Neil Orfield, Player Q DFS on Twitter, the host of the High Stakes podcast on Stochastic. Right? I have to remember that Stochastic, not Awesemo.
It's been a couple months now. You got to get used to it eventually,
Not
right?
months. It's been what? Not months. 2 months, maybe. 6 weeks.
Yeah, maybe it's only been a little over a month. I don't know. At some point, though, we're gonna get used to it.
Right. And we're with the dog days of summer. This is kind of like you're kind of finally getting sick of baseball, right?
Yeah. Yep. I've really slowed down my baseball play. I've ramped it up on days when I'm doing baseball content, which has not been that frequent recently. Maybe that's probably actually the worst strategy because it's hardest to make baseball lineups when I am doing content. But yeah, I've really slowed down my play. Figure I've got my best sports coming up in the fall, so why spend all my money on baseball, which I had a great year last year, but that was kind of an outlier for me. So I'm starting to lose faith that I really have as much edge as I thought I had in baseball. And it could just be, I've been a little bit unlucky this year, but it has not gone my way. So
I've been actually playing more baseball, more MLB, but I'm only playing a couple of lineups a night, and I'm getting into the groove of from a mentality standpoint, because I was always outside of soccer, I was always a large field style player, right? And now I've been focusing on the smaller field stuff, not necessarily the high stakes stuff, but as you've heard, I've been experimenting with the triple ups, the 3-mans, the 5-mans, whatever. According to my Roto Tracker, I'm profitable, 4% ROI.
Okay.
Which is not great, but still profitable with what I'm doing. But in playing the smaller field stuff, so I'm playing, like, for instance, I'd play for my main lineup, which is for my 3-mans, triple ups, quintuple ups. Like it's not a cash game lineup, but it's kind of for that purpose. And then like 4 lineups on each site. So 4 lineups on FanDuel, 4 lineups on DraftKings, and like on FanDuel, the 4 lineups I'm putting into like the 100-mans, the 20-mans top 3 pay, the single entry stuff, like $10 single entry, the ace or something. It's like 250 people. Then there's one that's like 58, right? Like like those levels of contest. The $5 single entry, the small, like a $3 118 person 3 max contest that I'm playing one lineup in. And then on DraftKings, I'm doing the same thing, and I'm playing like one lineup in the 121, and then playing like one lineup in the 44, then one lineup in like the $25 single entry.
What are the maxes in these, in the 121 and the 44?
Well, those are single entry. No, the 44 is like a 20 max or something, or 10 max. I mean, it's
you're only entering one, though.
I'm just entering one. I'm just playing 4 lineups, but they could be in multiple of the contests. So like it's 4 lineups. So in one of the lineups, I may have that lineup in the $25 single entry, the $5 like the 3 max 700-man. Maybe it's in a the $5 59-man contest, and like maybe it's in a $5 20-man. Maybe like it's a bunch of things together, but they're all like kind of smaller field. Like the largest contest I'm entering is as a main contest is like the $12 single entry, which is like 1,900 or whatever. Okay. And of course, I'm throwing all of these lineups also into the large field contest, because I still think they're plus EV in there, even though they're not necessarily built for that. But just in case, 100K or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm throwing away much EV by doing that anyway. But because I'm focused on contests that have 500 or less entries, 100 or less entries, that from a psychological standpoint, it feels much closer to when I play soccer. So like in when I play soccer DFS, I'm primarily playing a cash lineup for double ups, head to heads, all that type of stuff, and then I'm playing like small field contests. So I'm playing the 222, like stuff like that where it's 200 or less entries into the contest, and maybe I'm only playing 3 other lineups, 2 other lineups, something like that. In those contests, from a psychological standpoint, when the 2% owned cornerback of the biggest underdog scores, like no one has this guy. Like
Yeah.
no, like that goal does not matter. Like it for my contest, it doesn't matter. For the large field, it may matter, but for my contest, it doesn't matter. I do not need to have the nuts in my contests. So in soccer, it's very easy for me to like it'll be a 5-game soccer slate, and some forward will score on some team that isn't that popular. He's like 5% owned in the large field contest. 2% owned in the small field contest. Someone will have, like maybe 2-3 lineups have them, but it's not a must. You don't need them because they need to also have 7 other players that also do well. So it's unless that guy scores 2 goals, probably going to be inconsequential. Or some defensive midfielder for 3,600 scores and literally no one has him. Like literally no one has him in my contest at all. It's 1% owned in a large field. So it's like psychologically building lineups and sweating the games. Like getting away from the mindset of like I need the nuts. So imagine in baseball, right? You're playing a 13-game MLB slate, and 10 minutes into the slate, Real Muto hits a home run for the Phillies, and he's like 3% owned, and like it's not like, oh, close your laptop, I don't got the Phillies, right? It's like I'm dead. I don't got a Philly stack. I don't got Real Muto. Like in large field, you kind of think that way psychologically.
I mean, not on a 13-game slate, but yeah, I mean, to some extent I agree with you. It sets you back a little bit, but I mean, a single home run isn't gonna eliminate.
No, of course not. But I'm just saying in general. Let's say the Phillies put up a couple of runs, like it's the first inning.
They put up 3 home runs in the first inning.
Well, not even 3 home runs, because 3 home runs. Now you're getting to maybe you need the Phillies. But let's say there's a double, there's a RBI single, there's a solo shot, there's a stolen base, and it's like, okay, they put up 4 runs in the first inning, and like you're not sitting there going, well, out of my 5 lineups, I don't got any Phillies.
Yeah.
Well, it's still possible. Like, dude, I got the Astros, and they're playing 2 hours from now. They put up 9 runs. I'm fine. Like, I do not need any Phillies to win this contest.
Sure.
Like, even if someone has the Phillies, and I look at the Phillies are like 2% owned, and even if someone has the Phillies, I could still beat them because it's not like they put up 20 runs. We had the Blue Jays last week. Of course, I had the Blue Jays that slate, so that was great.
I did not have the Blue Jays. That was actually my first slate in a long time where I 150 max. I had not been 150 maxing. I decided to get back into it on Friday. Naturally, I've been taking more of an approach this year where I try to choose my lineups. So rather than spreading out across every team or a majority of the teams, I've been picking and choosing, trying to condense the teams that I full stack with. And of course, I picked 10 teams, and the Blue Jays were not one of them. I think they had maybe slight negative leverage or something. They just didn't stand up. They're of course facing Nathan Eovaldi, so it didn't seem like a must play to me. Although oftentimes I do like stacks, like the high potential stacks against above average to good pitchers. Oftentimes I do, but I did not choose the Blue Jays on that slate, and of course was just absolutely dead. Lost most of my money. So that was.
So they scored what? 22 runs.
Like 27.
27 runs, right? 27 runs, right?
Yeah.
I was loving that with the position player coming in because I had the Blue Jays, but remember I had the Blue Jays and I'm only playing like 4 lineups on each side, so it's like, so for me I was heavily exposed to the Blue Jays because I think on FanDuel I had them in 2 of my 4 lineups, and on DraftKings I had them in 1 of my 4 lineups.
So I was gonna ask, so are you full stacking in these, like even in a 56 person field?
Yeah, no, I'm playing, but I'm more concerned with getting the teams right in baseball than getting the batters right. So obviously my quote cash game style lineup, that I don't care about correlation or anything like that. I'm just trying to basically get at least a 5v5 off of the common combinations and sacrificing only as little projection as I can to do so. Even though most likely I'm sacrificing 3 or 4 points to do so, but I'm getting paid 3 to 5x for doing that. So like that's completely separate. But then what I do for my other lineups is that I group out all of those combinations also. So like if it's a type of slate where it's the Pirates are in cores and they're underpriced because DraftKings forgot, and Aaron Judge is going to be popular, and this pitcher is going to be popular. Like, I'll make a group that basically says that, like, I'll throw in all the Pirates, Judge, and that pitcher, and say no more than one, which means I can't get a Pirate stack with Judge. I can't get a Pirate stack with that pitcher. I can get a one-off Pirate with another stack. I can get Aaron Judge without the Pirates, right? Like, so I'm grouping up the popular combinations, and then from there, I'm basically running my aggregate projections, and then I'm like, let me see the top 20 5-3s, right? And the more higher scoring teams on the slate, like the more higher totals, the more likely I'm actually going to run like a 4-4 or a 4-3-1. Because I want to capture as many people from the teams as possible. On a lower scoring slate, I just want a 5-man stack. And a lot of times, the 5-man stack will have 3 one-offs. But what I'll do is I'll just run through the different combinations. So I'll run the top 25 threes, the top 25 twos, the top 25 X's, the top 25 4-3-1s, and then sort each out by the ownership. So basically remove the lineups that are too high owned for whatever. And then I look at those and I go, I've already grouped out the popular combinations. So it's like, okay, which one is the highest one, right? And I go, okay, I'll take this one. And then maybe it's a 5-2 of whatever. Some others, it's the Astros, 5-2-1 with some guy and the 2 pitchers. And I take that one. Now, once I take that one, it's like, well, how much of that team, do I want to play any more stacks of that team in my 4 other lineups, right? Because now I have 25%, whatever. If it's no, I'll just either make a group and say no more than 1, so I could get a 1 off of those, or maybe a 2-man, and then run it, and then basically do the whole thing and then run it again, right? Or maybe I look at the 20 and I pick, and maybe there's 4 lineups that are close enough in projection, but they're different enough, especially on the slates where a lot of teams are equal to each other, on the larger slates. And sometimes even in those 20s, I find the 4 lineups that I want. I'm like, I look and I see it's like, okay, I have this pitcher in my cash lineup, my quote cash lineup. I have it in the first 2 lineups that I picked. I don't want to have any more of that pitcher. Right?
Right.
And I go, okay, well, let me just get rid of all the ones with that pitcher and let's see what's left. And is the ownership worth the projection? I'm still playing pretty high projected lineups because I'm playing small field contests, but I'm just basically going like that. But I'm making sure not to play popular combinations of players.
Can I ask you a question here? So you said if it's a slate where there are multiple high projected teams, you're more likely to play like a 4-4 or a 4-3-1. Would that be true in a large field contest, or is that only because you're playing smaller field? Because I think generally for me, if I see a lot of high scoring teams, I'm more likely to run full 5-man stacks.
In a large field, yes, because then the more runs that a team scores, the more likely the 5-man pays off.
Okay,
right?
So you're looking for a higher floor and a higher ceiling because you're in smaller contests.
Right, I'm looking for a higher floor. It's not even the ceiling, it's a higher floor. It's just that, like, for instance, like, let's just give an example. Let's say there are 5 teams that have a 5+ total. Now, that means one of these teams could also put up 14 runs. And if one of the teams put up 14 runs, you're probably in a large field especially, you're going to want the 5-man stack because there's going to be 5 players on that team that are worth playing when they score 14 runs. Now, what happens if all those 5 teams score 8 runs each? It's quite possible that a 5, like, it would have been, the 4-man is fine and the 5th guy only has 8 points. So, like, to increase my floor so I could get exposure to 2 of those teams with more of the players, then I'm playing more 4-4-4 because I'm only playing small field contests. So I'm not playing for the one team to score 14 runs. I'm just playing for, I need to not have these combinations and have 2 teams that score whatever. Now, on a slate where there's only one team with a 5+ total and everything else is kind of in the mid-4s, it's quite possible that some of these teams put up 4 or 5 runs, so a 5-man stack doesn't come through. Maybe one of them puts up 8, and the 5-man is worth it even with one of the players having 10 points and not 22, because none of the other teams really put up that many points either. So, like, I don't mind it because I'm not thinking for large field. In large field, Neil, I'm doing the 5-man stacks on draft. Like it's not a question.
Okay.
By default, I'm pretty much playing 5-man stacks. But in these small field stuff, especially when I'm playing against either people that are building cash lineups and throwing them in, or they're building they're building large field style lineups they're playing 5X lineups. So when they play 5X in these contests that are like 200 people or less, you see a lot of, like yesterday, for instance, the Dodgers or something, or like whatever that combination is, you're going to see a lot more of it, the condensing of the combination. So anyone that's playing the Dodgers most likely has Ashby, most likely has
Greinke.
right, has Grank, as like what it's going to be like. Most likely that they're not playing they're playing a different first, but like I don't know what it was yesterday specifically for this show, but I could go through and know like Jose Ramirez at third base, right, is going to be there with Franmil Reyes. Like on FanDuel, Franmil Reyes was popular because he was 2,300 against the Red Sox. And I'm like, okay, anyone that has Franmil probably has Jose Ramirez in their lineup also. And then they're more likely, if they're spending down at Reyes, they're either going to have Minaya or they're going to have Ashby. So I kind of put together what in these smaller field contests, people are more likely to jam chalk and stack. So it's like I don't want to play the similar stack. So like I remember yesterday with the Dodgers being popular, like the most popular players were Turner at short, Betts in the outfield, and Will Smith at catcher. I played the Dodgers in a stack and had Gavin Lux, Freeman, and Muncy. So because I wasn't going to play more than one of Betts, Smith, Turner in the lineup because especially with Ashby with the popular pitcher. So like really all I'm doing is I'm still kind of playing the chalk. I'm rarely playing like leverage stacking. I'm not playing, stacking against Garrett Cole. I'm pretty much not playing like low projected teams at all because I don't really need to. It's just that I'm avoiding all the combinations that I'm more likely to see together. So like if the Cleveland Guardians go off when Reyes and Ramirez are chalk, like I may have a Guardian stack that doesn't have both of them together, and I just have to hope that not all the points get scored from Ramirez and Reyes, right? That Jimenez has some points and Rosario has more of the points. So it's like you didn't need, like I have Manny Machado in my lineup at third base and not Ramirez, right? So I still may be playing those teams. It's just a matter of like not playing the popular one-off. When Aaron Judge is 42% owned in single entry as a one-off, all I know is that in the past week you'll lose anyway because he hits a home run every fucking day. No matter what, it feels like. But it's like I don't mind Judge as long as it's not in the popular combinations. But I'm not going out of my way to play low-owned stuff. I ended up in the 121 yesterday with the Orioles stack.
Okay.
Kluber. Against Kluber. But it wasn't because I was targeting Orioles. It's because I grouped out so many Dodgers, Guardians, and Red Sox who were and that were projected better, that their other hitters didn't project as well as the entire 5-man Orioles stack with the 3 Dodgers. So like my 121 lineup was essentially the 5-man Orioles and then the 3 Dodgers and not the popular 3 Dodgers. It had no, I had Turner in that line. I had like Turner, Muncy, and I don't know, Bellinger maybe or something like that. But I had like Rushman and Odor and Mountcastle and Hayes and Santander, and then I also had like a Max Fried at 9% in that lineup. And it's like the raw projection was good, the ownership was low, and then there you go. Then I didn't choose any of that. It's just that when I'm looking through the lineups after I put in all the groups, it's like okay, the Orioles seem to fit in these lineups, and this is the projection, this is the ownership. It's the top one that I see after removing some of them. Okay, there's my 121 lineup. Now move on to the next thing. Maybe I have 3 more lineups, 4 more lineups, whatever. now all I do is like, well, how much do I really want Rougned Odor again? Do I want the Orioles again? Maybe I X someone out and just run it again. I go, okay, I don't want Fried in another lineup, so just X him out and run another 20 and see what comes up.
Have you thought about just hand building?
Well, that's kind of what I'm doing. I mean, but
you're saying, you're not choosing the players. You just said I'm
right.
not choosing this stack. It's what it's giving me after I eliminate all of these other players. So, you're kind of. But
I'm putting them in by hand. I'm not even uploading a CSV.
Okay.
I'm putting them in. I'm literally tapping on the app or whatever and putting them in because I got because they're all in multiple contests, so it's hard to organize on a CSV. But
so I will say I've thought about playing, sort of taking the same approach you have in MLB and switching to higher stakes for MLB only, because it's the only sport that I have had some success at in just hand building lineups, and I'm still looking at the top stacks tool and stuff. And
I'm not even looking at Neil. The thing about my process. Not even looking at that at all. Not even looking at who's over-owned, under. Obviously, eliminating lineups will give me more of the players that are under-owned and less of the players that are over-owned, as it is.
But are you eliminating lineups based on which stacks you expect to be high-owned?
Combinations that I would. Combinations of players, which tends to be the ones that are, right? So, like, once I know that Betts, Turner, and Smith are high-owned, and I say I only want one of them, it's going to be much harder for me to get Dodger stacks 5 minutes, right? I mean, it just naturally happens that way. But the point is, the top stacks tool is more useful for large field GPP.
True,
because I'm playing smaller field content. So if you were to play the high stakes, you'd be doing the same exact thing as me. It's just that I'm not playing that. I'm not playing the 777. I'm playing the 121 is my biggest entry contest. I'm playing the $25 thing, but I'm just putting them in multiple. So, like, each lineup of mine, if I've my 4 lineups, my 121 lineup is really like $150 of volume. Because I also have the 50 in the large field, I have a $4, and I maybe have in one of those hundo contests, right? Mm-hmm. So it's in like 5 contests, and then the other 3 lineups equal about $80 to $100 worth of volume. Because I'm playing them in multiple. So I'm like adding them up that way. Instead of playing like one $250 4max entry, I'm playing $100 of like 8 different contests of like, but I'm looking for like, especially an hour before lock, they'll start releasing like the second run and third runs of some of those single entry 3max. Like it'll be the $20 3max, 108 people, right? When the original contest is 470 or something. And it's like, well, this is a 3max and has the similar percentage payout structures. Give me that. It's basically a 100-man contest. And a lot of times, especially late, a lot of the whales, the top volume players, are just spamming those contests and putting their cash game lineups in because it's late in the lobby. So it's like, okay, I'll just add this to one of my 4 lineups that I have underneath. And okay, this lineup goes from $60 worth of volume now to $80 worth of volume and whatever. Instead of just putting in like a 250, a 121. So I'm spending less money per line. I'm doing the same thing. It's just a matter of how much money, how much volume.
Yeah.
Like you could do it by doing the 777, the 250, the 121 would be your less volume lineup, and while it's my highest volume, but you'd be more likely to do that way only because you're not. I'm also playing like $1,000 of volume in the triple ups and all, right? Because that's taking up that. If I wasn't playing that, then I'd be more likely to play the 250, the 180, the 121, right, and do it that way. But I think my simulated ROI in the triple ups is very good. Like I'm actually running under expectation at 4%.
At 4%.
So like I want to do that, but psychologically, it's so much more. It's a weird feel. Like when you play large field GPPs, psychologically, especially when you're spread out your exposures. You feel as if, like, dude, I just want a stack to hit, right? I just don't want all 4-2 games because I'm playing 5-man stacks everywhere, right? So it's like, I don't care if it's the Tigers that put up 12 runs because I may only have 2 or 3 of those lineups, but I have 2 or 3 of those lineups. And it's a matter of, when the Tigers put up 8 runs in the first inning or something, now you're looking through and you're going, okay, well, let me take those are the lineups that I care about, right? But when you play like 5 lineups total and you don't have the Tigers, like, you feel as if, like, close the laptop. But in small field GPPs, like yesterday, it was the Tigers against Mania, who was the highest owned pitcher.
Yep.
I made money, and I had zero. I Javi Baez on as a one off on FanDuel, so that helped with 18 points, especially when Turner barely had any. But like I 3x'd one of my GPP lineups. It was $100 worth of volume, and I got like 321 or something like that. It was a lineup that had Ashby and Kelly, pretty much the two nut pitchers that you needed, because Kelly put up 34 and Ashby put up 26. All of the other batters were in the single digits: 3 points, 9 points, 8 points, like nothing. Like it was essentially it was the Red Sox Guardians 5-3.
That was the first stack I built yesterday was Red Sox Guardians, and they were just shit.
Right, but I had the two best pitchers. That lineup 3x'd only because but the Tigers did so well. Yeah, but the Tigers were barely owned.
Yeah.
Now in the large field GPPs, that lineup would have like 1.5x'd. Because I looked at the $15 content because it was in the 15, and I did min cash. I got $25 for it. But in the single entry in the smaller field stuff, that lineup placed like 37th or something. I mean, because the Tigers were barely on. Mania was more on than because people were more likely to play him in the smaller field stuff. So like from a psychological perspective, like getting away from the notion of like I don't need the nuts. I don't need the nuts. I don't need the nuts. Like it helps me like, yeah, I don't mind not having this team. I don't mind like this is what I'm planting my flag on. These are the lineups that I'm building. And if it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, I'm in cash. I mean, like it's not as daunting, but of course the downside or the reverse is like unless I just happen to get lucky that is also a large field win. Like I'm not like the 121 first place is $5,000, so it's like there's no like oh my god $100,000 type of thing. But to me, based on what I'm seeing and looking through, I. Like my general philosophy. How do I make the most amount of money for the least amount of risk with the least amount of time? Mm-hmm. This fits way more that I think heading into football season, I think I'm much more likely to play like this. I think I'm much more likely to play a triple up and NFL, dude, Neil, in NFL cash games. Now here's the caveat. The first month of NFL, I will be playing two quote cash lineups. I will be playing a straight cash lineup, and I will be playing a triple up, quintuple up type of lineup. Okay. Because the first month of NFL cash games, we get new people in, and
I've heard that it's easy to make money.
Right, that it's easy. Right, so I don't want to give up on that, but it's also very easy to figure out what the lineups are. Right, baseball sometimes there's some ambiguity. There's like 3 pitchers that are projected around the same. Right, there's like, did you play Soto or did you play Judge or did you play Acuna? And they're all like, there's nothing that's going to be that popular. Like you get some positions that you do, right? But a lot of times, you can predict within a 2v2. But in NFL, imagine early in the season, sure, that straight cash lineup is fine. You throw in double ups and wait for the bad players to go broke. 6 weeks into the season, then it starts getting a little bit harder. But imagine late season NFL. Like, dude, you know how easy it is to just go, what's the blitz optimal? What's the ETR optimal? What's the stochastic optimal? Right? And go, okay, let me take a look across all 3. Oh, all 3 have Alvin Kamara. X out Alvin Kamara. All 3 have, right, have Noah Fant. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, once I X these out and then go, okay, give me the best lineup that doesn't have those players in it. And I go, okay, how many points lower projected? 3.5 points. And compared to all these 3 lineups, I'm a 5v5. And then I just shove them into quintuple ups. And I look at a 28-man quintuple up. And I see 10 people with the ETR optimal. And I see 8 people with the blitz opt. It almost feels like I'm playing against like 5 lineups total. Right? And as long as if I beat one of them, I probably beat all of them. So like to me, and I'm looking more forward to NFL Showdown. That could work as well, right? Because you just go through and because so many people that play the cash stuff are playing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I know exactly the projection sources they're looking at, and they're so distinct that it's easy to see how can I be different and then play 3 to 5x contests. But on the other side, instead of playing like the $9 slant or the $3 playing the large field stuff, like why don't I just do the same exact build 4 lineups and go?
All right, so here's
a stand.
One pushback based on something that you say all the time, which is seek out the worst opponents. And aren't the worst opponents going to be in NFL in the largest field contest? So it sounds like you're kind of giving up. You're seeking out the worst opponents to take this new approach.
But maybe I do both.
Okay.
Maybe
so you'll still throw it into the milli maker.
No. Maybe I do make a 150 set and do that separately also.
Oh, okay. I see.
Right? Like maybe I do that as well. I mean, especially in football because you have the time.
Sure.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just that you have so much more lead time. It's like most of the time I'm building my lineup Saturday night. Right? Because you get that late news, the practice news, any type of injury stuff, typically Saturday. You get the Schefter tweets, that type of thing. I can wake up at Sunday at 9 in the morning, 4 hours before, and still be fine. I mean,
yeah,
much different.
I can't get myself to do it. I still can't get myself to make my lineups before all of the inactives come out an hour and a half before the game start. I don't know. Maybe I'll get past it this year, but I want to know all the information when I start.
And unless there's something that dramatically changes, unless we expect something, there's nothing. And if we expect possibility, then I'll just make 2 of them.
Sure. One
with and one without type of thing, and you have like what if projections, that type. But I'm just saying the style, but that isn't that the main thing that I've struggled with the entire length of this podcast of like. The large field contests have the weakest players, but it's just fucking ridiculous to realize your edge.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And is it more worthwhile? Is the opponent, because the difference is that in these smaller field stuff, people are playing suboptimally. Right? Even the good players are playing suboptimally because they're playing lineups that while they may be slightly plus EV, it's just not worth their time to change because they're playing $20,000 worth of volume. Right. Like, so it's not a matter of like, oh, they're bad. It's just they're not paying attention to the $25 single entry contest. They're just throwing in a fucking lineup type of thing. So there's like no one concentrating on these things like that. So it's like, yes, is there less edge in those contests? Yes, but it's also more realistic that I can realize that edge over the course of a year rather than 3 lifetimes, right? And hope I get lucky and hit first instead of third, right? And the difference between $100,000 and $15,000 is dramatic. So I'm not saying you can't do both, right? It depends.
I just didn't know you had it in you to do both. I mean, you're usually such a nit. You're going to be throwing everything in the milli, and then you're playing all these other contests as well.
No, I typically don't play the milli.
Okay. The slant. You play the slant, but
the slant has gotten more because they've pared that down. The slant.
It's all pros at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, 50% of lineups are 150 maxes unless they make it bigger. Like when I won it was 65,000 entries. Yeah. And like last year they were like making it like 20,000 entries total for $9, and then like 10,000 entries would be 150 maxers. Much different when 65,000 entries are in there and only 10,000 are 150 maxers.
Yeah.
But I think that getting back to the psychological thing is that just like in soccer, I feel so much more comfortable. Obviously, I've been playing DFS soccer for the longest time. Mm-hmm. I just feel so much more comfortable going, well, if Ivan Toney scores a goal, then fuck it, then whatever. Then who gives a shit? Right? Like that type of, like some forward that like barely anyone has in this contest. I don't give a fuck. Like it's so easy for me to do that. Yet in like other sports, I'm like, well, what if this running back goes for 30 points? Like I could say that about God knows how. What happened if today's the day the Marlins put up 10 runs? I might as well have one lineup with the Marlins just in case. Like, but when you're playing 500 entry contests or less, 100 entry contests, who gives a fuck? Right? Who gives a shit? If fucking Brian Dela Cruz hits 2 home runs, who the fuck has that guy in my contest? No one. Yeah. Right? It's so much easier to say, and also that the leverage thing is like I almost don't even have to think about it because I'm playing higher projected lineups anyway. So I'm not playing a lineup that, if the top 5-man 5X lineup is, let's say median projection is 115 points. Dude, I'm not playing a lineup at 88. Right? It doesn't matter. Even if it can measure it with its ownership is worthwhile to play, that would be a large field lineup. So if the best 5x lineup is 115, I'm playing lineups at like 105, right? 108, like something like, like somewhere in that range. And most likely, in order to play a lineup that's high enough projected like that, you're probably playing some of the high team total teams, right? You're probably the most inefficiently priced teams to some extent. It's just that, let me make sure to, like, dude, anyone that has this stack, like half of these people will have this pitcher and that one-off. So just make sure to not have that, right? Or people will have this team, but they won't have the ninth hitter, right? Everyone's playing Josh Lowe at 2,300 on the Rays, batting fifth, and I'm playing Brett Phillips at 2,100, batting eighth, right?
Is Lau on the Rays? I don't know.
Well, there's two Lau. There's Brandon Lau and Josh Lowe. Or Brandon Lowe and Josh Lau.
Nate and Brandon. And then I think there might be a Josh Lowe on the Rangers.
No, Josh Lowe is on the Rays.
There's Nate Lowe.
Yeah, I know, but there's also a Josh Lowe on the Rays.
Okay, all right. I'll take your word for it.
Trust me, I played him. I know.
All right.
I know the Rays lineup.
I believe it.
Right? But the thing about doing that is that now I don't have to, like, okay, well, who's the highest owned pitcher? How do I stack against that? Like, I'm not even thinking. I'm just using the numbers and going like I don't have to beat everyone, right? I don't have to beat 30,000 people. I don't need the nuts.
Psychologically, you just get to sweat a little bit longer is what I'm hearing.
Not necessarily.
You don't know that you're out. You never know that you're out of it in the first 10 minutes because
you don't have it. That would be correct.
Unless it's the chalk. If it is the chalk, then you could still be dead. If the chalk hits in the first 10 minutes, you could still be dead.
No, yeah, I'm more likely to be dead the other way. I'm more likely to be dead with like the 30% owned one-off hitting a home run on their first at bat and me having in 5 lineups having none of them. Right, and going, oh my God, okay, I'm down 14 points to a 30% owned guy. Oh well, right? Or the pitcher, or you have the under-owned pitcher in 4 out of 5 of your lineups, and he gives up 5 runs in the first inning.
Yeah.
Even you're dead to win. You could cash. I cashed the other day. What was that pitcher the other day? What was the fucking pitcher that it was chalk and put up -8 or whatever?
Was it just yesterday with
No, Minaya got you 2 points. No, there was a pitcher Ian Anderson.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't play a slate every day. Yeah, he projected.
I don't even know if I played it. Yeah.
Yeah. He went out and he put up a fucking dud. I still cashed 2 lineups with him, fucking -8 because it was like 40% owned, right? Yeah, so, right. So, and even then, see, that's the point. It's like in large field, if you're like, I have a pitcher with -8 in 80% of my lineups, is there a point in even caring anymore? You know you lost.
Yeah. Good luck to you,
dude. I made money that slate. How did I make money? Because I didn't have Ian Anderson on FanDuel. I had Dylan Cease or whoever the hell else it was, right? And a lot of times, my who do I play? Like in the cash lineup, I'm playing. It's very weird. I'm playing the opposite. A lot of times it works out that I'm playing the opposite on sites. So, for instance, because of because of the way the salaries work out. So it's quite possible that, like, Jose Ramirez in cash games, like in cash-type lineups, is like 70% owned on DraftKings, right? Because everyone's playing the Alec Thomas for the Diamondbacks at outfield, and they're playing some 5K pitcher that should have been 8K. Right, so like the way that it works out is like $6,200 Jose Ramirez is chalk on DraftKings, and I X him out, and I'm able to play a lineup that's a 5v5 that's only 2 points off or 3 points off, so I don't have Ramirez, even though he's 70% owned in my triple ups. I don't have him, but on FanDuel, Josh Donaldson is 2,500, like, or for some odd reason, and the Yankees have a 6 total, so he's chalk, but not Ramirez. Because Ramirez is 4,200. So Ramirez is like 10% owned. But because I'm not playing Donaldson on FanDuel, right? I end up with Ramirez on FanDuel. Yeah. So like if Ramirez does well, like it screws my DraftKings lineups, but it helps my FanDuel lineups, and it's quite possible on DraftKings I have $4,300 Josh Donaldson instead of Ramirez. So like I have the opposite on the sites, and the best arbitrage is when they both do just well enough that they help me but don't hurt me.
Yep.
Right? Where Ramirez, they both put up 12 points. So it's like they don't get there either way where I don't need them, but they still give me enough points on each site where I win everywhere. I mean, that doesn't happen all the time, but because obviously the best projected players are going to be the best projected, just a matter point per dollar wise. It may be better on one side versus the other, or the way the positions work out. Where obviously, like the catcher that I'm playing on DraftKings, I'm most likely not playing on FanDuel. Because if you're playing a cheap catcher if you're playing $2,200 Carson Kelly on DraftKings, like FanDuel, the salaries are soft and you don't need to play a catcher in the catcher first baseman spot. So like I really don't run into that often. It's just a weird dynamic where I could literally be like, yeah, I'm rooting for Jose Ramirez, kind of, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's similar to how I sweat MMA, I think, which doesn't really help anything. But I like throughout the fights, I'm like, she's 7,600. If she scores 78 fantasy points, that's like right in that sweet spot where I don't know that she's going to be optimal, but she could be optimal. That happened on Saturday. I had a lot of Victoria, whatever her name is. Victoria Leonardo. I was well over the field of her, and I was I was hoping for more, but I was like, I guess all my lineups are still live here because
she was optimal.
With her still up?
She was optimal. No one had the optimal in the large field GPP.
Really?
Okay. It was one of those. It was a weird slate where the 9K options put up a lot of points, but you couldn't have three of them in your lineup because the only two dogs won. Only three dogs won because Blades was 7,900, Leonardo was 7,800, and Klein was 7,000. So you needed Klein in order to get in two 9K fighters. But since none of the other underdogs underneath 7,800 won, you couldn't fit three of them in. So even though the three 9K fighters were three out of the four top scores, you couldn't have all three of them because you would be running out of salary. So It turns out that Leonardo at 7,800, like with 78 points, becomes optimal, even though she was like the 8th highest scoring fighter on the slate, or 9th or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Or not? No, she was one of the lowest scoring winners, but she was priced lower than the 8K guys.
Yeah. That
did well. It was just a weird slate, a slate I predicted like that. Just that I needed another underdog like I had lineups like that as long as one of the other underdogs won that were cheap enough, right? Because I jammed in barbell type of lineups. And then, of course, we get a main event that has an injury 40 seconds in.
That was such a disappointment. Yeah.
But I like the questions that you post on Twitter during MMA because I just like seeing how stupid how people follow me, people follow you. They listen to our shows and probably watch our stuff. How could it's the sampling bias should make it that, like, imagine the outcome of one of those polls of people that don't follow us.
Right. Well, so I wonder if part of it is that I don't post a show results option either. So people might have no idea about MMA and just kind of click at random without really knowing what the scores should be.
Then why would they care about the results if they don't even know what's going on?
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know.
But for people that don't know, a lot of times early in an MMA slate, you'll put in like 4 fights in, you'll put in like this fighter is this much and scored this many points. This fighter scored this much and this many points. This fighter scored this much and this. If you knew these outcomes before the slate, and you're building for large field GPP, one lineup for large field, how many of the fighters would you have in your lineup? Now, I always get the answer right. And there's never been ambiguity anytime you've done this.
I think that this past week there was some ambiguity because
of Mokaev at 9,500, like that.
Mokaev, and then also Victoria
Leonardo
was in there. I don't know that she was clear cut that we put her in your lineup. I don't know.
No, I didn't think it was clear cut. I thought that did you put it up by the time Pierce broke the slate?
Yep.
Yeah, so to me, I put in one. I said it's because the $9,500 fighter may still not be optimal on a 14-game slate, But Pierce definitely is. So, like, obviously, zero is nothing. Yeah. 145 for 8,700. You ain't beating that. It's like anything at all. So I think it was like Mikhaev, Pierce, and Leonardo. And I'm like, 1. You could make somewhat of a case for 2 with Mikhaev at 119 or whatever he scored. Or what did he score? He scored...
I think 119 sounds
119?
Right. 119.
Right?
Yeah.
But I didn't think the Leonardo... I think 78 for 7,800 was... And she ended up being optimal. Yeah. Now, of course, but I'm saying probabilistically, you had so many other fighters on that slate that 78 most likely on a 14-fight slate, no matter what their price is, was not going to be optimal.
You don't mean that the outcome came out the way. You just mean like I was right probabilistically.
Probabilistically, right? That's all I care.
Which I would expect. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I don't care about. Right. You have so many other. You have 11. You have 10 fights remaining. You have 7 of those 10 fights are expected to end inside the distance. You have the main event there. You have 3 9K fighters that have 120-point ceilings. Like, why? Like, why am I paying? Why do I? How often on any slate does a 78-point fighter at any price make the optimal?
Yeah,
quite low.
I my pushback is you say that it's generally very obvious what the right answer is. I think that last week was probably the one time that it was not at all obvious to me what the right answer was between those 3. I thought there was a good chance that Mikhaev would be in the optimal at 90.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Leonardo. I'm talking about more of Mikhaev. Like, I could see that, but I think probabilistically that it may be not as clear as the other past week, because the past weeks you've done it in...
Some of it has been like there's one and I try to wait until there's not an extremely obvious answer, but...
like one time you put in the highest price fighter and he only scored like 98 points, 96 points. And then people are like putting in 2. Like, no, you don't play this guy. Like no. Like, I know he put up 96 points, but he's not going to be he's most likely not going to be a top 6 fighter at that score on a 12-fight card with other people left to go. But like there's... And then there's also times where the answer is 0, where they put, it's like, oh, someone scored 88 points for 8,400. Like, if you knew that, it's like, no, I still 0. Right? Like, it's still a 0. But then, like a guy that, the harder one, to me, truthfully, the harder ones are the low 9K guys that put up about 100. So, like, it's a 9K guy, it's 9,000, they put up 102.
Right.
And it's like, especially when there's like 3 guys higher than them that haven't fought yet, and it's like, that's not bad for 9,000. Like, that could be up, that could be. And then the other one is the 7K guy that puts up 85.
Yep.
Right? So it's like, he's definitely optimal if no other underdogs win, right? Definitely optimal if even only one other underdog wins. And he's also, even if multiple underdogs win, if the 9K fighters put up 120 apiece and you could jam 3 in, you're going to need the 85 points over there. Like that, to me, those are the hardest ones.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't know if 85 points cuts it, no matter what the salary is, but it's more likely to happen on slates like this past slate where like half the fighters are 2-1, 3-1 favorites. Right. But on a slate where there's a lot of pick, where the highest price guy is minus 220, getting 85 points for 7K is not like the slate before that one where like 7 underdogs won and the optimal lineup would have left like 3,400 on the table. Like 85 points you wouldn't want to have in your lineup.
Sure.
I just find that the poll's interesting because
it's interesting to see what people think. Yeah.
That's why I do them. It's interesting because, like, even in the non-obvious things, you put, like, 3 things. There's one that's obviously wrong.
Yeah.
And then I see that, oh, wow, 12% of people are really dumb.
Yeah.
That follow you.
I think typically the majority get it right. Or get what I would think is the right answer. But yeah, there's always some.
The majority do, but it's still not, like, I would consider you're following us.
Yeah.
That the correct answer would be like 95%. But it isn't. It ends up the correct answer like 48%. Yeah. And then it's like 22% of this and then 12%. Like who's voting on this? It's the same thing when I do that during football season when I would do the leverage, right? The leverage, and I would try to make it as obvious as possible. So I'm picking the same position, similar salary. So no one could say, well, it depends on the salary or anything like that. And I'm like, what would be considered a leverage play? And I'm all just the definition. Yeah. And all I'm doing is basically going, okay, who is the high, David Montgomery is the highest owned running back on the slate, right? So I'm like, okay, let me take a look. $4,800 Allen Robinson or Darnell Mooney is sitting there at 5% ownership. And I'm like, okay, what other similarly priced wide receivers are in that range? And I make sure that those wide receivers are not on teams with high-owned running backs. And I just put the 4 players out there and I go, what's the leverage play? And then I look and I'm like, typically the majority get it right. And like, okay, I get like 700 poll answers. Yep. And it's like 56% pick Darnell Mooney. And I'm like, what the fuck are the other 40? What are the 44% of people? And then I get replies of like, I find out that it's not a lot of times where the person, the replier, doesn't understand what the leverage play is that they have no concept of what the ownership is.
Okay.
Right? So I'll put down, in that example, I'll put down Darnell Mooney, but I'll also put down Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I'm not even sure what I assume he's still on the Packers, right?
No, he's on the Chiefs now.
Oh, he's on the Chiefs now. Well, let's say he was on the Packers, right? Like I put that there, and then someone will say, yeah, it's obviously MVS because Aaron Jones is going to be high owned. And I look at like, okay, Aaron Jones is going to be like 9% owned, like it's not like David Montgomery is going to be 35% owned at 5,600 or something like that. It's like, so it's like, okay, so this person that replied understood what a leverage play is, but it's like, well, you're not getting much leverage off a 9% owned running back. Like it's just that they didn't know that like, oh, well, obviously Aaron Jones is going to be the one of the highest owned running. Like he's not going to be.
What time of the week do you post these polls?
Typically Friday.
Okay. So at that point, the data is out there.
Yeah, the data's out there, right? This is Friday and Saturday. I'm not making it like where there's any type of, like, there's clearly one right answer. Yeah. There's so clear. The other 3 are complete. Like, I make sure of it. Like, it's Marquise Brown. Like Marquise Brown on a slate where, like, well, how's that leverage or anything like that? Right? Or it could be a wide receiver on a team that another wide receiver is popular. Like it could be the type of thing where Jalen Waddle is chalk on DraftKings, and it's like, Preston Williams is the at 1% or something like, or whatever. You just think of the other Dolphins receiver or something on a team, right? Sterling Shepard at 4,200 is chalk, and it's like, okay, here's fucking
Kenny Golladay.
Yeah, or Darius Slayton or something.
Darius Slayton,
yeah. Right, or something like that. Like, it's that type of thing. But the problem is that a lot of the replies are just like, they don't understand leverage, but a lot of times it's like, dude, how do you not know what the ownership of these people are? Right? And you're following me.
Right. Well, I mean,
it should be a selection bias.
They're not all going to be super smart.
But if you're following me, shouldn't there be a selection bias towards like anyone that's following you, for instance, should not get the answer wrong, being that they probably are subscribed to Stochastic.
Yeah, typically people following me are subscribed to Stochastic or regularly watch this show.
Right.
Those are my followers.
Right.
Generally, I think.
So imagine someone that's subscribed to Stochastic that says, well, I'm going to play this guy because Aaron Jones is going to be high owned. It's like no. It's not like the ownership projections are different. Like, it could be one of those things, yeah. Oh, Stochastic has them at 32%, and they're wrong, right? Right? And ETR and everyone else has them at single digits. Yeah, then I could understand that you have bad information. But that doesn't happen.
Really, yeah.
Now, it really, like, there are discrepancies between the sites, but not that, never that dramatic.
Yeah.
Right? So you wouldn't get confused that way.
I think the answer might be that people don't take Twitter polls all that seriously. So
people, or they're doing it to troll. I think they're more
doing it to troll.
No, they're not trolling you. So I don't understand your polls. I can understand people trolling me. You're nice. You have no reason for people to troll you.
I suppose there are a lot of trolls though. People just like
I'm
to
going to
troll.
screw up Neil's poll by putting in 0, even though Jonathan Pierce scored 145 points. I don't see that. People just fuck with
Probably
me
not.
sometimes, right?
Sure, you're an
They reply
asshole.
back, play whoever you want, pick whoever you want, pick whoever.
Yeah,
Yes. I've heard that 800 times. Yes, you're not being clever anymore.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe people are just wrong.
So it always comes. Occam's razor. It always comes down. Right? Like even my wife. Like my wife, will complain about something. Went to the store. Someone did something like that. It's like, why would they ever think? Why would someone buy and do this and do? And I go, dude, just go down to the really simplest things. Like, don't try to explain it. People are stupid. Just people are stupid.
Yep.
Once it's like, okay, they weren't doing it intentionally. They weren't doing it because they weren't thinking through it. There wasn't no type of plan involved. It's just people are fucking stupid.
Yep.
Right.
Not a lot of logic a lot of the time. Yeah.
Right. And in this world, as human beings, you don't need the nuts to win.
It's true.
Right? Have you ever met people that are successful in business, and then within like 10 minutes, you go, "How the fuck is this guy successful in business?"
I have had that. Yeah. Yes. Many times.
Right? You go. It's like, oh, they. And I'm not saying that they're like, oh, they run a whatever the manufacturing company or whatever that makes like that, and they have 500 employees and they're worth $10 million, and then you talk to them. And in 5 minutes, you go, how come this guy has more money than me?
I mean, there could be really, really dumb people who are really smart at individual things, like people who don't have a ton of logic, intelligence in like IQ sense, can be really knowledgeable about certain things. There are people who can start a business really young and really get to know a product really well. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways to get rich, right?
Yeah, but most of the time, it's because in those types of scenarios, you find out within 5 minutes that, because your dad owned the company.
Yeah, that's frequently that is true. But I think that there are also self-made people who are not that smart, but have found a way to make a lot of money. Or not that smart in one sense, but maybe smart in a sense that I don't appreciate as much sometimes.
Right. I don't mind like the hustlers.
Yeah.
Like hustlers, but to me, I consider hustlers to be smart people.
Sure.
I'm not talking about book smart. I'm just talking about like just common sense and
There's
logic.
A lot of different types of smart. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Like like you could talk to me, like you come to me and you go, oh, let's talk about art and literature. I must be the dumbest fucking person to you because like
me too.
I don't read. I can name some paint. I could probably do well enough in like the first 2 slots in Jeopardy for those categories.
So I do trivia with a group of friends from law school. Off and on, we do trivia, and the running joke is that my contribution, I get one answer each time we play. I get one answer that nobody else knows, and that's kind of my goal when I play trivia with my smart friends, because they all they know everything, and I can usually pick out one thing that nobody else knows.
Or the stuff where book smart people don't. Right? I'm in charge of the sports category.
I nailed the spouses or love interests of athletes. One time we had a section, I went 5 for 5, and it was Brooke Shields and Andre Agassi, they went back, and I just knew all of those random kind of things. But yeah, anything that's like geography, yeah, I'm out.
No, geography I'm good at. I mean, it's certain like capitals of city, capitals of countries, all those types of things. Yeah, like I'm good at that type of trivia, but there's certain subjects that I have like no interest in whatsoever. So it's like there's no point in me talking about it. So like to people in those circles, it'd be like, oh, this person's dumb, but I'm never in those circles. So that's a much different. That's what I consider stupid people. Stupid, like to me, the people that are stupid are people that don't realize that they're talking to smarter people.
And there's a lot of people like that.
Right. That annoys me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like it sounds weird for me to say, Neil, but a lot of times in public situations, I'm the quietest person. Is that weird? Like if we were to go
It's
out
not
to,
weird just because you and I have talked enough that I know that you, I mean, and you've said this enough on podcasts that your personality is different outside of being on a show.
no,
It
but even
doesn't
no, it's the
totally
same
shock me.
personality. But I'm just talking about if I go, go out with my wife with her friends, and there's a meet and it's a party or whatever like that. Most people, or even with her own family, we go up and there's a barbecue or something like that. Most people are like, well, Jordan's so quiet. It's like, well, no one's talking about anything that either one, I'm interested in, or two, I know anything about.
Yeah.
So what am I? I'm not gonna. If I don't know something, I'm not gonna fucking say anything. What can I contribute? My the two brother-in-laws or whatever, brother talking about fixing up some fucking truck or something. Dude, I don't even change my own oil. Like
Yeah.
what can I possibly talk? I'm not even interested in the subject, so I have no even questions to even ask. So like
Yeah.
I'm the quiet. I'm just standing there, nodding my head. Oh, gasket this, carburetor that. I don't okay, right? Like
I'm
this.
similar, but I don't think that would surprise as many people. I'm not as loud on the podcast. I'm not as outspoken, so probably not as shocking that I am definitely similar in that if a conversation starts and I'm not interested in it, I am not one to feign interest generally for very long. I'll try sometimes to act interested for a little bit, but I'm not very good at doing it for very long. So
No, me
I'm
neither.
in the same boat.
But on the opposite, if people are discussing something that I'm
Oh, me
highly
too.
knowledgeable
Yeah.
and highly interested in, it ends up becoming this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy to talk sports or politics or things that interest me, but
Right. And then
a lot of
talk
things
about it for what time is it? Oh my God, we've been talking for 6 hours.
yeah, exactly.
Right. And then at other things, it'd be like, when can we get out of here? Because this does not interest me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, like my wife's friends, a lot of them into like like not I wouldn't say comic books, but kind of like science fiction,
Graphic
fantasy,
novels.
graphic novel. Yeah, like they're more into like the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Okay.
that type of. I don't watch any of that stuff. I vaguely know the characters, right? Like, but
Have you at least watched The Boys?
no, I haven't watched that yet.
Oh, you got to watch The Boys.
Okay, I'll put it on. It's on my list. I
Highly
got
recommend.
a long list.
Okay.
But I don't like the people that interject. Like I'm not that. Like I'm not going to talk about. I know that I know much less than these people. I'm not going to say, yeah, I think Wolverine is cool. Like I'm not. I'm like, it's why do I have to interject myself? I don't know as much, so even if I'm slightly interested, I'll just listen. Because why wouldn't I listen? I know that they are smarter. I know they know more than me.
Yeah.
Right?
And there are people who have the exact opposite personality where they're like, they need to get their words in on any subject. And I'm
but people think I'm that person, but I'm really not that person.
Yeah, you're only that person on DFS podcast where you have opinions about everything.
Right. But even if I think that even in a situation where, let's say, I was in a little group at an event somewhere, and it was me, Whistles, Brian, and Alex, something like that, and they're talking about some Python something, but they're doing some type of modeling, some type of whatever like that. I'd be listening.
Right.
They know more than me. There's no reason for me to like what can I? Yes, I know DFS, but I don't know exactly what they're like. It's more important for me to pick up stuff. Like I'm going to learn more by not talking than by talking, because I have nothing to add to this. And if I ask a question, it's going to be an informed question, right? It'll be something like, well, based on this, can I do it? Can it be done X, Y, and Z? What are the pros and cons of that? And then maybe that's a discussion. But then I'm asking a question. Then, like, it's almost this is really fucked up to say. The more that I'm talking in a conversation, the more that I think that you're stupid. In a way.
Based on all the feedback we've gotten on this podcast, Blender, this is not good news for me.
Right. But I didn't mean right. But you understand what I'm saying? Like I do understand. The common thing you'll hear from a lot of people is you don't want to be the smartest one in the room.
Yeah.
You want to be in the room with smarter people because that's how you learn.
I've said that many times on high stakes. So that's how I live my life. Is I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So I like to, which all I mean by that is I find people who are smarter than me more interesting, or people who are as smart as me
Right.
more interesting than people who are that I don't find to be that intelligent.
Right. But that's hence why outside of this type of space, I'm much more likely like I want to hang out with smart people, even if they have the different interests than me, only because there's more to learn. It's more intellectually fulfilling, and I may not be even participating in the conversation. Right? So like the more likely that I'm talking in a conversation, the more likely it is that I'm at least at or above the level of knowledge on the subject that's being talked about, and the less I'm talking, the more likely that I'm the least. Yet you know people that are the opposite.
Yeah.
Right? That are the complete and you get it both ways. Because you get the people that are the least knowledgeable, the Dunning-Kruger people, the least knowledgeable talking the most in a and it imagine in DFS, in fantasy sports, that you go to a family barbecue, long lost cousin or whatever's there who loves playing fantasy sports, and he plays in season-long leagues, occasionally plays on DraftKings, and he doesn't know, but he doesn't know you, right? He thinks you're Neil the whatever you used to do, right? Accounting, something.
Lawyer,
right? Okay, well, it's always something like that. I forgot. They think of you as Neil the lawyer, and now they're going to tell Neil, dude, you know,
you heard of DraftKings?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And they start talking to you like, and yo, I got this, and they talk like they know what they're talking about, and the more that they talk, you know how little of what they're right there. These are the people that you beat in the contests.
Yep.
And it's like, and then you get the other side of, and then you get what you're doing in the conversation, the people that are really smart that don't say anything. Right?
Yep.
Right? And a lot of times, like in poker, you would find that so often.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right? That the smartest people are the ones that you don't hear from at all. Right? And the ones that don't, the richest people are the ones that look the schlubbiest. Right? The people that come in their sweatsuit, sweatpants or whatever, the fifth.
You have to reach a threshold there, though. It's like billionaires to be like the schlubbiest, really.
Right? Not the schlubby, but still not, they don't flaunt anything. Yeah, and it's like, and then the entire table, like the poker table, is talking about some type of whatever it is. It could be, I don't know. And then the person sitting next to you is like a PhD in that subject, right? Like a PhD in like history, and some people are talking at the table about whatever, and this person just literally doesn't say anything. Yep. And I'm sitting there knowing that the person, because I would know the person, and like, I'm surprised you're not correcting all this bullshit that they're talking about. But that person's attitude is, why?
What's the point?
What's the point? Right? There's no point. I don't care. Like, to me, I'm here to make money. I'm glad that these people are stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't harm me at all.
Doesn't harm me at all for these people to talk and be wrong about it, and not say, actually, this blah blah blah. The Istanbul used to be a city where they don't, because they're talking to dumb people, and they're like, why am I wasting my time talking to dumb people? Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have the same approach. Not doing a lot of talking about things I don't know a lot about in general, and happy to listen. If I'm out with people who are having an interesting conversation that I don't have anything to contribute, I'm totally happy to listen. Blender, I did want to ask you one thing, which is, what do I have to do to get a birthday cake on my birthday from DraftKings? Because throughout the past year, I've been watching, everybody's been posting their birthday cakes from DraftKings. I've been just biding my time, waiting for my birthday.
When's your birthday?
It's today. You got no cake.
It's today?
Where's my fucking cake, Blender?
Well, I'm not getting you a cake.
Where's my DraftKings cake?
What tier are you?
I'm Onyx.
Oh, then you should have a cake. You should be getting a cake. I forgot if I got a cake too early or too late. I don't remember.
I know you got a cake. I remember because your cake was like misformed, kind of. Or like
no, because it wasn't misformed. It's just that the writing on the cake, because of the wrapping, was wrapped on the top. So when you took off the wrapping, all of the wording came off.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So that's why it looked like that. I wasn't expecting. I don't even know if I got that on the. It was I got it
Well, it
around
might
my
still be
birthday.
coming. It might still be coming.
It's not even that. It wasn't even that great of a cake.
I just want a cake.
Why?
It
I
looks
have a
good.
decanter that I don't use for anything. What the fuck am I gonna do? Right? I don't
I've
drink
never
enough.
used my decanter. I'm probably never going to use my decanter because I don't drink like high enough level of bourbon. But if I ever get a nice bottle, I'll put it in that decanter.
I don't drink enough to even have like.
I drink plenty. I can drink. I drink enough for the both of us.
You can
I've
drink
used
enough for
the
like me
glasses
for
plenty.
5 years.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I think I could. This year, I think I've drank the most I've have in recent memory this year, and that's maybe a grand total of 8 drinks. That's
Yeah, we are not
only
the same.
because we've gone out because like I like at WrestleMania I had like a drink at the hotel or something like me and my wife have gone out on trips more often. We were in Las Vegas for a week.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yeah, I think I had like maybe like a rum and coke or something. Because typically my wife will get a drink and I'll just say, whatever you get, just get me one. Right? Like it doesn't matter. Because I know that anything that she gets, I don't mind drinking anyway. She doesn't get stuff that I don't necessarily like. But it's pretty plain, a Jaeger bomb. Okay, fine. Something like that. And my wife doesn't have high tolerance at all. So 2 drinks, she's done. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like me, I have absurd tolerance. I could drink 8 of those and not anything.
Oh, so that's why you don't drink because it's like, what's the point?
Right? What's the point? Right? I'm gonna drink a drink that doesn't taste good, right? To not have any effect, and I don't even like that effect to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? So like, what then? Why am I? What am I doing? What am I? Right? I'm much more likely to drink a Red Bull. Right? It's like okay. It's like cocaine, even though I've never had cocaine. But it's like for the types of stuff that I do, it's like I want to be as awake as possible and be able to concentrate and like a tree could fall outside and it won't even faze me because I'm so wired. Like that's the state that I like. That to me that's the state. I don't like I'm stumbling around because what am I going to do? Stumble around and build 150 DFS lineups? No, of course not.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't typically drink until I'm stumbling around. Not that frequently, but
dude, I have during the pandemic, right? The not DraftKings, Roto Grinders. We didn't have a Super Bowl party, so we had a virtual Super Bowl party, and then they bought through Drizzly.
Oh yeah, I was jealous.
Right? They bought us like $50 worth of whatever the hell we wanted. I still have those bottles. Right?
Of course.
That was what? That was like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. I still have it. Right?
Yeah.
I gotta no. What ends up happening a lot of times? I don't have that bottle. That bottle we gave as a gift. So like we'll go to when you go to someone's house or something like that. Oh, we'll bring Woodford Reserve. Oh, okay, you bring it because I know everyone else drinks, but what am I going to do? Leave that up here? Woodford Reserve or Maker's Mark or some type of bourbon or something like that. But you drink more. It seems like Adam obviously drinks a ton. Yeah. According to his Twitter timeline.
Yeah, I drink a good amount. I drink a lot of bourbon. Other stuff like tequila, I'll have tequila for forever because I don't drink tequila. I don't drink rum. I don't drink basically anything other than bourbon whiskeys.
Do you find that DFS people, there are more people that drink a lot? I'm not saying alcoholic a lot, but still a lot.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I don't know that many DFS people in real life, so my entire impression is based on Twitter.
Right? That's all I'm dealing with.
At live finals, people are drinking a ton, but that's also open bar in a unique situation. You're with a lot of people you don't really know, so people are probably more inclined to drink more to make themselves more comfortable. But I would guess that that's probably true. I also went to law school, and lawyers are known for drinking a ton.
Right.
So a lot of my friends are lawyers, but the people from law school that I keep in touch with, for the most part, are not huge drinkers. So I don't know if they're an outlier. But yeah, I would say in general, based on Twitter and based on live finals, yes, DFS people drink a lot.
Or is it a certain type of DFS person? Because I would like, would you like nerdy type people don't seem like the type of people that would be big drinkers.
True. In general,
yeah. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just Maybe I'm projecting the stuff that I don't find the appeal in drinking, so I just project that upon Well, these people seem like me. Why are they drinking? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea how much Steve Buzzard drinks, or like,
Right. Or
most people
Rinpack.
at
How much does
Snowcast, or
Rinpack doesn't seem
Rimpak
like.
can't drink. So I know Rimpak does drink, because we actually he was at the Tournament of Champions this year. So I have drank with Rimpak. I know that he can drink. I don't know if he does regularly.
Right. Well, that's what I'm
But
saying. If we were at a live final, I would end up having a drink or two, and be like,
yes.
oh, okay, Jordan drinks. Like, no, I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
this is like the 2 drinks out of 5 I'll have all year, right? Like,
Yeah.
like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's also like if it's like, oh, if it's only beer, it's like, dude, you'll see me nursing the same can for 4 hours, because after about a quarter of the beer, like, this tastes horrible. Like, it tastes good at peak coldness. I could stand about a quarter of it, and then after that, it just like, why does anyone want to drink this? I don't understand this taste. Like, why? Who wants bitter shit?
See, I enjoy alcohol, and like, I mean, I enjoy some alcohols. Like, I enjoy a mixed drink. I enjoy wine. I enjoy beer. But like, all of it has to be kind of in the right setting for me. Other than bourbon, I can enjoy. Any in the evening, basically any evening, I can enjoy a bourbon. But like, beer has to be. I have to be in the mood for a beer. Which sometimes I'm just like, I really want a beer. A lot of times I don't.
Me,
Um,
the only drinks that I drink regularly, if I were to drink regularly, would be the fucking frozen drinks.
yeah, I
It's
like
just a
pina
matter of
coladas.
making. Like, you can't
Yeah,
really make them at home easily. But
yeah,
I mean, like, on a cruise or whatever like that, fucking give me a daiquiri.
yeah,
Like, I don't mind that little fucking umbrella shit like that. Like, give me anything that's sweet, that tastes like a fruit, like, that's not bitter, like, and that you could barely taste any alcohol at all. Like, dude, give it to me without alcohol. Like, like, I'm perfectly fine with the virgin, because I'm drinking it more because it's like, oh, it's like a milkshake, right?
yeah,
Like a Bailey's Irish like the Irish coffees type of thing, and then they'll make it into like a frozen drink. Like, it just is just like getting a coffee milkshake from Haagen-Dazs or something. Like, I'm drinking it for that. The alcohol is secondary. It's like, I don't even care if there is alcohol in there. So really,
yeah.
am I really drinking for drinking? No, I'm drinking because
Tastes good.
it's a sweet drink. Like, yeah, you might as well just give me a Chick-fil-A milkshake for all you care. I don't get. That's fine with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. You don't like drinking? I think if I didn't like drinking, I would not drink either, because it's obviously much healthier. So good choice there.
Ah, we talked about a lot. We're going to be off for a while, just like you're off from high stakes. So
Yep.
typically we do every 2 weeks, but I'm working on the for advanced players version of Theory of
Nice.
DFS. So the goal, the expected release is August 22nd. So that's a Monday. So we'd normally
Nice.
record and do this show on the 8th and then the 22nd. So basically we're skipping over the 8th, so I could spend all my time recording and putting stuff together for that. And then
I will
hopefully,
also be out of town, by the way, on the 22nd, so you will need to find somebody else
okay,
if you're going to put
okay.
one out that week.
So on the 22nd, I'll probably get James on. Right? James has
Nice.
never been
Oh,
on this
perfect. Yeah.
podcast.
Is
Right.
he really? Yeah.
Right. Well, the whole point of that, if you want to know, is that, well, James is on with me on my Monday's Rotogrinders show,
That's true.
and the type of people that would be tuning into this podcast that's named after the course already know who James is. It's kind of like a way to sprinkle in people in different spots to get people that don't know who you are different. There's a method behind the madness, right? But James has never actually been on this podcast, so probably being that we're releasing something together on the 22nd seems like a perfect time.
Good timing.
Right. But you'll be back for football season, right? NFL, you'll be back after that.
I think so. Yeah.
Are you down? I'll ask you just live, whatever. Are you down just during football season with me and Eric? We would do it every week because we review the past NFL slate. What's your schedule?
I will have to see what my schedule looks like. My schedule might be changing a little bit coming soon, so we will have to discuss off of air. But if I am able to, I would definitely be down.
Okay. But the more for the audience, during NFL season, there will be an episode every week. Even if it's not you on, it'll be with someone review, because during NFL season, that's the biggest DFS season. And truthfully, this podcast started out with me and Eric just going over strategies and what we thought through on the previous NFL slate. Then once NFL season's over, it's like, oh, now what do we do? It's like, okay, now we could talk about whatever's happened over the course of the week. So I still want to get back to the, people on Mondays be able to like review the slate and think, how did good players think about things? Type of podcast. So even if it's not with you, it'll be with someone else, with someone. Someone will come on. Like I always get. I'll get someone on. We'll talk about stuff. But people can see the agenda that we have on these podcasts. That literally you come on and I press record, and we don't. Other than that, we don't really talk otherwise.
Yeah, you usually start with "You ready?" and then we start.
Right. So it's like people may look at it, go, "Oh, you guys have great chemistry. You must talk a lot outside." It's like, no, I don't think we literally talk at all outside of what you hear.
Yeah. Sometimes we talk after the show for 20 minutes.
Sometimes. Or DMs.
Oftentimes not. Yeah. Or
right.
DM,
Or DMs or something like that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but high stake. Who's gonna be the first guest on the second season, the new season of High Stake?
I have not lined anybody up. I mean, we're still a month away, so I have not lined up anybody there. I've talked to several people. I'm hoping to get DFS Hofbrau King, Eric Hoffman, who I spent a lot of time with at the Tournament of Champions with Eric, and I can tell you that he drinks. He's a good drinker. I'm hoping to have him on early in the season, and that's about when he thought he would be available. So
I think he tried to start out with a big bang, like big guess.
I mean, he was just named by Whistles Go Woo as potentially the best DFS player this year. So
okay, and if he says so, that means it has to be true.
I mean, it also I think the numbers bear it out. He's been crushing this year. So.
Mm-hmm. But you're gonna get different. I mean, you'll get different people. I mean, there's still tons of people that you. I mean, it's like, oh, there's only so many players that you could have on. Like, no, there's a lot. Now, there's a lot of people that you see over and over again because they're more accessible. But it's not like you can't reach out to people. I mean, I've had people on the show that like, look, I'm the first person to have Nerdy Tenor on. Now I had Nerdy Tenors on everything.
I was on everything. Yep.
Right.
I was a good get.
So
I mean, there are plenty of people still out there. Who knows how many are willing to come on podcasts? I guess that's what we're going to find out.
Well, it's also a matter of not just willing; it's just the people you have to ask.
Yeah. Oh, I'm willing to ask.
Right.
I've been asking.
Right, because some people aren't even willing to ask. Like some people, right, that don't even bother, and there's also some people that is it worth like. I'm more likely to ask people that are lesser known than are well known. Like so I'm less likely to be like, oh, this guy has been on like 7 podcasts already. Let me get him on for like. I know that that's someone that I could ask at some point because they're more likely to be on a podcast. But like they're like people. Someone asked me today, it's like, why haven't I had Alex on? Like Alex is already on all of his stuff already. Like. What am I gonna? Because remember, this is not really an interview show. It's 2 DFS people talking to each other. Like what is there anything that I could talk about Alex that he doesn't already talk about already? Not that much.
You could introduce him to a new audience potentially. There might be people who watch this who are not really familiar with Alex. I don't know if that's.
I mean, that's a purpose for him. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to have him on, but that would be the main reason why. It's like, why haven't you had Adam Levitan on? Like, dude, he does a podcast like 3 times a week. Like these are people that you could listen to. Like, there's nothing necessarily for me to talk about enough that it's worth at some point. Sure, I could reach out to Adam and see about coming on. Most likely he would. But I mean, like I see more value in. Is there someone that could talk about something that we haven't heard from or don't hear much from? Like when I had like Warren on. And you had him on also, like someone that I respect that isn't. I ask people that I want on that I talk to all the time that don't come on, right?
That's what I have not done much yet. Is in the Discord that I'm new to, that you've been in for a long time. I was disappointed to learn that basically everybody in that Discord, there are a bunch of people that I was planning to ask to be on High Stakes, and I learned right away that a lot of them are not willing to come on podcasts.
Right, because if they haven't come on this podcast yet, they ain't coming on yours. Because right, I mean, like it's the same thing. Other than Petty.
Yeah.
Right. You haven't had him on.
I've had Petty on.
Oh, you had Petty on.
Petty was my second episode. Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember. But there's someone that's, especially during NBA season, is worthwhile,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, for sure.
But there's kind
I
of
mean, a
like
lot of those guys would be worthwhile. I'd love to have them on the show, but they're hesitant, I guess,
I think they just don't care.
or they don't care.
Right.
But I'm still going to try.
Right.
And I've got some maybes, so,
Yeah, well, I've gotten maybes all the time from them also, but it doesn't mean
Yeah.
it's as long as I find enough people. But I mean, it's newer. It's not newer people to DFS. It's just newer people to the hearing
Content.
from, right? In general, so like getting like when getting like ad getting like Josh on or something like that. Like, yeah, it's nice to have a conversation with Josh, but like, dude, he does like
Those
every
shows
day. I hear from him every day. So like,
Yep.
what's there to really talk about? But during NFL season, at least there's like I don't mind bringing on people that you hear from all the time because we'll be talking about our thought processes of a given slate.
It's
So-
more slate specific.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I don't like if Alex were to want to come on for something like that, like at least there's something to talk about specifically there that it's not just general purpose that we haven't heard from a zillion times. Right? Because there's a big difference between like Brian Jester coming on like, oh, let's just talk about macro stuff versus let's talk about the Monday night NFL showdown slate from yesterday.
Yeah.
Specifically. And it's like, okay, now that there's something to like, and then you could grasp like, were you thinking this? Were you thinking that? Were you thinking this?
Yeah.
What did you do there? There's something to talk when you're doing interview macro type of stuff. There's no like, because even I'm hesitant on this show to even mention like, you remember yesterday's slate, the Dodgers or whatever? Because
nobody remembers a random baseball slate.
right, like imagine listening to this 3 months from now, you'd be like, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yep.
But if people want to know what the fuck you're talking about, Player Q DFS on Twitter. Stokastic.com. You'll be on more stuff during the football season, right?
Yep. Football season. Even preseason. I was just asked today if I want to do some hosting of preseason NFL stuff. I'll just be hosting, so you won't be really hearing my thoughts on it because I don't typically play preseason NFL. But it'll be good shows with Matt Gajeski.
Yeah, Derrick Henry apparently is not going to be playing the preseason.
I saw that. Yeah, just before.
But also, and Chris Carson also just announced his retirement.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, it just came through. I'm giving you the news for someone that didn't know that MVS is on the Chiefs. Right? Tyreek Hill is on the Dolphins now, right?
He is. Yep.
Okay. This is remember just if you're listening to this, remember I played DFS only. So like to me, I learn what players are on what teams like the Wednesday before the first regular season NFL slate.
So I have a leg up because I play best ball. That's the only reason I know
Right.
where all these players are.
Right. Now, obviously, it's in my time. Like once the preseason comes around, I'll see what's going. The major people, whatever, like that. But like, what team is Mike Davis on now? What team is like those like journeyman types? It'll be 3 weeks into the season that I'll find out that the third running back, because the first two got injured, is like, oh, that guy's on that team now?
Yeah.
Right? Where's Quadre Allison or something like that? I thought he was on the Falcons. It's like, no, he's on the Raiders. He's on the, like, I don't know. I have no fucking clue. It's like, I'm just looking at goddamn projections. Like, yeah. I really have no, that's why it's like the Packers. Oh, no, he's not on the Packers. So who do the Chiefs have now?
They have Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh, they got Juju. See, I don't even know any of this.
And they got MVS. So it's the Packers who lost MVS.
Right. But I'm just thinking that if Tyreek Hill's not on the Chiefs, I'm like, what's their receiving core look like?
Yeah, so Juju Smith-Schuster.
Sammy Watkins still there?
MVS. Sammy Watkins is now in Green Bay. Sky something. They drafted a guy named Sky who seems to
Sky Bolt, the same guy on the Oakland A's?
I want to say I don't know what his last name. It's not Sky Bolt, sadly. It's a cool name. It's like Sky. I think it's a common last name.
Right.
And then they still have Mecole Hardman as well.
Right. So this is how little I follow, right? But hence why looking at my timeline and I see all you fucking people with your best ball drafts.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't even look at that. Like, I
try not to post too many of them because I do a lot of them and it's fun. But like, I also know that when other people post their best ball lineups, I don't care most of them. I mean, oftentimes I will look at them just to like see why, figure out what kinds of lineups other people are excited about. And oftentimes they look very different than mine, the ones that I think are great. But but typically it's not that interesting.
Yeah, but I care you see how little I care when I don't even know what the players are on what teams.
Yeah, right.
Right, so I'm not even looking even close to like anything. I don't. Oh, look at I got the so and so in the 4th round. It's like, okay, I don't even know what team that guy's on anymore. I don't know. Right,
Yeah.
right. So if Juju Smith-Schuster is on the Chiefs, I don't even. I don't even want to know. I was going to start asking questions. It's like it does not matter because I don't play preseason NFL either. So like, dude, I will not know anything until like, and even when like the only reason I'll know on Tuesday or Wednesday is probably because I have to do content the first week for Roto Grinders.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't figure out who's on what team until Saturday night before the first slate.
Yeah.
Until even then. And I go, oh, okay, that's who's on what. That's what ends up happening with me in baseball, right? Baseball comes around. I don't play like, okay, it's opening day. And I go, Max Scherzer's on the Mets. And it's like, he was like the biggest free agent. So like, yes, if there's no DFS, I really don't give a fuck about these things. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What do I care?
Yeah. I care about like basketball more, I would say. I care more about the free agent signings. But even basketball, I forget a lot of the time. Unless they come to the Timberwolves, I frequently forget the new big signings.
Someone came to the Timberwolves, right? Didn't you get Gobert?
We got Rudy Gobert, we got Bryn Forbes, we got Kyle Anderson, we got Austin Rivers. It's just a superstar team.
How are the Timberwolves gonna play with both Towns and Gobert on the court at the same time?
Towns is gonna play power forward, so I actually think it might be an okay fit because Towns, and he's been around for so long now that I don't know if this is still true, but early on in his career, he played his like in terms of his plus minus stats. His plus minus stats were so much better when he played with another big man who was good defensively. So specifically those years it was Gorgie Jeng, who I know a lot of people would dispute it, but he had great defensive metrics in all of the advanced stats and the regular stats defensively. When they were paired together, Towns had very positive plus minus, and when Towns played without Gorgie Jeng, it was very negative. And then same thing when Kevin Garnett joined the Timberwolves briefly, he was very positive when he played with Kevin Garnett. So I think he might actually pair well with a good defensive big because he doesn't really cut it defensively.
Okay, well we'll see. We'll see. I'll care about that the first NBA slate, right? In October, right? At that point, it doesn't matter. So you can follow me at Blender HD as always on Twitter. Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. 15-hour audio DFS masterclass you can pick up at theoryofdfs.com.